Hello, hello, and thank you all for checking out Life Bringing Doula. So, I am making this video, podcast, blog, however you're listening or watching this, for my family and friends who want to be updated on my business endeavors and just know more about why I got started as a doula. This is also for anyone who is just interested in learning more about my business and what I stand for. So, these videos, at least this one particularly, will be going more in depth about the blog that I had just posted, the Getting to Know Me blog. So, if you read the blog, this will be somewhat similar to the blog. It will be in conjunction with it and going into more detail than the blog put out. But it will be going over some of the same information, so some of it might sound familiar to you. So this is just a getting to know me video podcast. Once again, it'll be on YouTube, podcast, the Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So yes, let me just go ahead and get started. So, this is going to be a getting to know me about why I got started as a doula. And the very last thing I will cover is just why I chose the name Life Bringing Doula. So, to start, I went to college and devoted a large portion of my education to be a police officer. So, being a doula was not an original plan of mine. I had wanted to be a police officer pretty much my whole life. When you ask a little kid, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Mine originally, I think I answered one time that I wanted to be an artist, and then I drew a picture of my family or my sister or something, and I couldn't even draw a good stick figure. So that, I realized that was unrealistic. So I then changed my mind to I wanted to be a cop, and I thought, yeah, I actually think I do want to be a cop. So I had started putting in a lot of energy and effort into researching it, into uh, all of my papers and essays in high school and college were all about law enforcement. And I had devoted a lot of my time to that. I had even gone to summer camps for, with the FBI on investigation work and everything like that. So I was really, really devoted to becoming a cop. Um, we'll get back to that in a second, but while I was in college, I went to Liberty University and we had to do CSER hours, which was like volunteer hours in the community. And part of that, um, one of the times that I did it for some of my hours, I worked at the Blue Ridge Pregnancy Center, which is a pro life pregnancy center in Lynchburg, Virginia. And while there, I met some wonderful women. And one of the women, I overheard one day saying that her babysitter was sick and she didn't know what she was going to do. So, me being the college student that I was, I went up to her and I said, "Hi, my name is Samantha. I babysit." So, I ended up babysitting for them and becoming a regular babysitter for them and became very, very close with that family. And this mom, she had police officers in her family, and so she was really, really encouraging to me of my dream and giving me advice, giving me tips, sharing stories from her siblings, and just being very, very encouraging towards my career. They would pray with me before I went to go take the fitness exam for the academy, and they were just always wanted to know how I was doing and what was going on. So this family was very encouraging towards me. Um, and then after college, I went to pursue my dream of being a police officer down in Alabama. Um, to be close with Sam, we were just dating at the time, but someone told me that you don't ever want to get engaged to someone that you've never lived in the same city with. So I agreed. So I moved down south so I could live near him and figure out if engagement and marriage was going to be good. And it worked out because we are now married. But um, I went through the police academy in Alabama and quickly realized that that path was not going to work for me. Um, which was really devastating because, like I said before, I had devoted a large portion of my education and life to my dream of being a cop. So that was really hard. Um, because I left that job, I then moved to Florida with Sam, and I started a couple different like small jobs in the meantime and realized none of them were right for me. So I reflected back on some jobs that I had had previously, which the longest job I had ever had was in retail, and I knew I did not want to stick to that. That's not me in retail. It was part-time high school job, nothing more than that. So then in college, in addition to being a nanny, I was also a seamstress. Liberty is the Ring by Spring campus, so there was lots of people getting married, which meant there were lots of bridesmaids, and bridesmaids need dresses hemmed. So I had great clientele there, had lots of business, created my own business as a seamstress there. And I wanted to get that started again in Florida as my job. So I tried advertising that, but did not have the same clientele down there, so that was less than successful. But one thing I definitely realized was I loved being my own boss. I love the idea of being able to set my schedule, being able to work when I wanted to work, being able to take on clients that I wanted and saying no to other people. I loved being able to decide my job. Work at 1 o'clock in the morning if I couldn't sleep in until noon if I wanted to. Not that I did that very often because I still had college classes to go to, but I was able to work it around my schedule and do what I wanted to do. So I around this time I also took several like personality tests of what job would be best for you, and a lot of them I got like police officer, FBI agent, detective. I got one as a firefighter too, and then one of them was an entrepreneur, which I laughed because I thought an entrepreneur meant you needed to have a brick and mortar building and like have a retail business, and I was like, that's not at all what I want to do. Once again, we went over already, not retail is not for me. So I decided I didn't want to do that. And I didn't really understand what it entailed. So I just kind of brushed that off the table. But I did know that I wanted to be my own boss. So I, around Christmas time, I realized that I liked drawing. So I guess the artist thing did come back to me in the end. But huge difference between when I was a kid and when I'm an adult is technology. So I got a tablet for myself for Christmas with, some Christmas money, and started using it for graphic design to draw some stickers. But, the technology helps me because if I mess up, don't have to smudge the paper and everyone can't tell that I messed up. Um, so I started using my tablet for graphic design to draw some stickers. And so the very first sticker I drew was based on a Bible verse that I had heard several times in 1 week alone. It's Proverbs 31:8. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. So I realized that the unborn, the preborn, are destitute. They cannot speak for themselves. So this is a sticker that I was targeting towards Christian and pro-life. So this is that we need, as Christians, we need to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves, which is the unborn in this scenario. So I wanted to exemplify that idea. So I got started on my design, and it was a huge, huge hit. So I ended up giving the profits of that, of all those stickers, to a pro-life organization that helped mothers who believed that they had no other option but to have an abortion, whether it's from their life circumstances, whether it's how they got pregnant, if they had something unexpected come up, just didn't feel like they could be a good enough mom. They gave their money to help these women choose life instead of abortion. So I realized that I wanted to help women. And while I was going through this and figuring this out, I was also a nanny at the same time. And because I realized that the sticker making wasn't a sustainable job for me. It was just a hobby, which I was fine with. And some of my ideas I had come up with my own, but some of them I did appreciate the help from others of giving me ideas, and then me just bringing it to life. But with all of that, I did realize this was a hobby. It wasn't my long-term job. So at the same time, I was nannying for a family in Florida. Unfortunately, that job did not last long, not by choice, but because military moved us. So I wasn't able to stay as their nanny. But when we moved, that was one of the hardest goodbyes that I had, was saying goodbye to that family, because I became really, really good friends with that mom, and I'm still good friends with her today. And I loved those girls like they were my own. They are the absolute most precious little girls ever. And so after saying goodbye to them, I realized that helping women didn't just mean helping those in like a crisis pregnancy. There are other ways to help women in need. And so I started looking into jobs that were helping women, not just at a like crisis pregnancy center. But I couldn't find anything, and any job I had applied to, I didn't have enough background to work in. So I was very unsuccessful with that. So after we had moved up to Mississippi, there was a day that I went down to the coast in order to renew my TSA pre-check, because it was right around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, and I did not want to wait in those TSA lines. Because if you have pre-check, why would you want to wait in those lines? So I was on my way down to the coast to renew my TSA pre-check, and it was a long drive because we're in the middle of nowhere. And I was just praying about what I was going to do for a job. I was feeling very lost, hopeless, helpless, useless, and just like a little bit of a failure. I hadn't found a job since moving up to Mississippi, and I wasn't using what I had devoted most of my education towards. So I felt like I had wasted my college education and that I was lazy because I had yet to find a job since moving. So I was praying for guidance on what to do next. On the way home, I saw a billboard that said doula on it. And I read it as like one of those billboards that you drive by that says like, this is a sign you shouldn't drive high. I read that billboard as like this is a sign you should be a doula. So flashback to the family that I used to babysit for in college. That mom was a doula. So I started messaging her, texting her, and asking her more information on what being a doula entailed. She was a huge encouragement for me pursuing a doula. She was always a really big encouragement for me as a cop, so I didn't see why she wouldn't be an encouragement for me as a doula. And she showed me where she got her certification through, and was just talking me through how to be a doula and like what it entailed and everything, because Google only gives you so much information. It's much better to have someone actually tell you what it's like. So I signed up for the doula certification courses because I just really felt that this is like a way that I can still help women in pregnancy and postpartum. And so this is where I was called to be. So with that, I have not necessarily figured out these details yet, but this is something that I'm really hoping to do, is I'm looking to set up some kind of sponsor system for my job. So obviously I want to help as many women as possible, but not everyone can afford services. So I'm looking to set up a sponsor system for those that are willing and able to support those who are unable to pay for my services. So I teach some of my classes at the Pro-Life Pregnancy Center for Pregnancy Choices down in Meridian, but obviously I can't teach all of my classes for free. So this sponsor system, I would really like to have those who are willing and able pay for classes, or even for my services as a doula, for those who need them but are unable to afford them. So I haven't officially figured out how I'm going to work through that yet, but that is a goal of mine so that everyone can be able to receive these services. So then, now for the final topic of today's blog, which is where my name, Life Bringing Doula, came from. So I had several ideas in mind of names, but some of them were already taken and some of them were too specific. So there's a lot of people that like to do their name based on where they're at. So like Meridian Doula Services or Pensacola Doula Services. But for us, that didn't work because military, we're going to be moving, so I didn't want to be Meridian Doula Services if we're in Virginia or if we're in California or Washington or back in Florida, anywhere like that. I don't really know, but either way. So I didn't want to pigeonhole myself with that. And then there are some people that like wanted a demographic, so I could have done like military doula services, as I am in the process of trying to accept TRICARE right now. So, but I didn't want to pigeonhole myself with that either because I want to reach as many women as possible. So I want everyone to know that they're welcome to use my services. I'm not just for a certain demographic. So I came up with Bringing Life Doula because I wanted to like show that all women who are pregnant are bringing life into this world. But my husband so kindly pointed out that Life Bringing Doula sounds so much better, which I definitely agree with. It does. It flows better. So he was able to help me come up with the name while still keeping the same idea, and bring like the idea that women are bringing life into this world. I'm assisting in that. And I also wanted to differentiate between the different types of doulas. There are birth doulas, there are postpartum doulas, and there are death doulas. So I'm a birth and postpartum doula, but I did not want to get confused with a death doula. So I'm not pigeonholing myself outside of working with loss, but I'll be working with pregnancy and postpartum, not with those towards the end of their life. So God forbid I have to help anyone that has a loss. I am still able and willing to assist in those like a miscarriage or stillborn as well. I pray for my clients that that's never something that they have to endure. But those are my services. So I wanted to make sure that my name was able to encompass my services. And so I also really, really, really wanted a name that encompassed a core belief of mine, which is life. As I said before, I'm pro-life. That's a big reason why I wanted to start this, to help women in need. And so I wanted a name that encompassed this core belief of mine so that everyone can know right from the get-go what I believe in. So that's how I came up with my name. But yeah, thank you all for supporting my business and watching my video. If anyone would like more information, you can go ahead and check out my website, lifebringingdoula.com. The blog that I just kind of went over is listed under the blog section. I also have several resources available on my site. So if you head over to the resource tab, I have some mommy care kits which help with pregnancy and postpartum, and you can get a free breast pump through them as well, or Mother Love, which is organic herbal supplements such as like nipple butter, diaper balm, everything like that, which I have a code LifeBringingDoula15 to get 15% off of any purchase. It doesn't have to just be your first one. So you can use those, or Dove, like the Dove shampoo conditioner. They have a grant for women to help pay for doula services, so that's listed on my website as well. And there's just a bunch of other things. I'll link my website into the video so that you can get all of that and check it out for yourself. But Thank you all very much for supporting my business and for coming to check out more about me. So I will update again soon with a new blog and a new video to go along with it. Thank you.